Hi everyone, it's Treasure. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining me for another video. We did it. The first semester is done. It actually finished a few weeks ago, but I needed some time to rest and recover before I got back to talking about it. I definitely need to get into my groove. Like, I have so many excuses to why I'm not getting started with this channel. Like, first it was, I need a good room, I need a good environment. I get the room, I don't make the videos. I'm like, I need to get into nursing school. I get into nursing school and I still don't make the videos. But this semester was a lot in the workload, but just me trying to gather myself and get used to my habits and stay on track with studying. I had a lot of content that I filmed, like just a lot of day in the life, you could say I did, but having to take the time to sit down and watch the video back and edit everything, edit all the clips, or even just to record is so much work. I could never remember to actually take my phone out and record, so that's also part of the reason why I haven't been posting. But I just wanted to get myself settled into the semester, and then I think next semester I'll be able to actually, get more into it now that I'm in my groove with studying, and then I know where I can take the time to film. But if I haven't said before, I am in an accelerated nursing program. It's a second degree program. You have to have a bachelor's in basically anything before you can apply. Most people already know what they were like in school. They know their study habits. They know if they don't have study habits. As soon as you get accepted into the program, start studying. And I'm not saying hardcore, read your textbook every day. Definitely look at your school's track for the program. See what classes you're going to be taking, at least in the first 2 semesters. Start either looking at books, just look at what material is going to be included in that class. Maybe just get an idea of what it is so that you can be a little more prepared going in. But yeah, like I was saying, definitely prep yourself before the semester starts. And even if it's not full-on reading, I definitely say just get yourself into the habit of studying again. Definitely get yourself into the habit of setting aside an hour or 2 to review your material and stuff like that. So before I get into the semester, we'll talk about supplies, because I know that's a big thing. When I was getting started, there were all these videos that you see, everything you need for nursing school, and it's all these colorful pens and all these different notebooks and your iPad and a MacBook and all these fun. You don't need any of that. You need a pen, pencil, and paper. Me personally was very broke going into the semester. Every dime that I made was going into my savings account, so I didn't have any extra money to be buying that stuff. Because trust me, if I did have it, I would have the newest hokas, I would have the clothes, sneakers. I just had to be very humble. I had the list, everyone was talking about these binder notepads, clipboards, this and that. So I waited until your first week of classes, see how your professors are and see how they're going to be teaching, and then make your purchases based off of that and what you think you need from that. In my program, they made it clear that everything was going to be computer based, and my MacBook broke literally maybe the month after I got accepted. So I did purchase a new MacBook because that's the software that I'm used to, but I am not recommending that everybody buy a MacBook, because I know school is expensive. So that's $1,000 that you could be paying for your tuition, towards rent, towards food. So do what works for you. I am an iPad baby, so my iPad is always here next to me. For me personally, the iPad helped in terms of keeping your slides in front of you. I don't like paper, and my first time in undergrad, I was printing slides every day, had my slides on the 4x4 so tiny you could barely read them, and it wasn't helping me study. Now I have my iPad, I download all of the slides. The way that I set it up, our school has our email through Microsoft Outlook, so when we get that, we get download of everything: Word, PowerPoint, OneNote. So this comes for the iPad and the note taking. I bought my Apple Pencil off of Amazon for $20. No, I did not pay $100 for a fucking Bluetooth pencil. Ooh, I can't. We're gonna bleep that out. As I was saying, they give us a Word account, whatever. So now everything's accessible for me through that Word account. So I have a drive. Each one, my classes have a folder. So let's go with funds because she had a good one. So then I split it up by weeks because that's how they do on our Blackboard, week 1, week 2, da, 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 da. Just go into whatever week, and then all the slides are there. So here in week 5, we learned oxygenation and perfusion, and the slides are right there. So what I would do, and then also since I have it on my phone, I can just pull up the slides on my phone or pull them up on my laptop, and it's all the same stuff because it's through like the same cloud account. Oh, my iPad just died. So as I was saying, while we wait for that to charge back up, the iPad mess, oh, I can't show you because my iPad is dead, but like I was saying, we get access to everything. So I also saw that there was a OneNote, which is basically like Microsoft's version of, was about to pay for the Notability, but I couldn't decide, do I like GoodNote or do I like Notability? And then I saw that I had OneNote for free, so I went with the OneNote. I need my iPad to see my notes about what I was going to talk about next. Okay, so now into the details of the first semester. So going into the semester, I am very anxious. Like, I hate feeling stupid. I don't like feeling lost. I don't like asking for help. So I did a lot of research, like how to study. Like, I had a TikTok account with like over 100 videos with different study tips, study guides, like different things that I knew I was going to come across. I tried to prepare myself. I watched so many videos like this one that I'm making. My first day was great. I had lab. My professor, she's a lovely lady, and she made us feel very at ease. She's very like easygoing, like that. I thought it was going to be when we walked into class, they were going to be like, what are the lab values? Blah, blah, blah. And you're going to be like, and they were like, you're stupid, get out of my classroom. But she wasn't like that. She was actually the exact opposite, and she was like, I'm not the one you need to be worried about. This is your first day, your first semester. I want to make it as easy and as calm for you as possible. If you have any questions, you let me know. So on that first day, and for majority of the time in any of our classes, she was my lab professor for funds and health assessment, we spent like majority of the class time just like chit-chatting, like joking back and forth. So that helped set the tone for the rest of the semester. But every class is different. Like, every professor has a different style of how they teach, which is going to reflect how you take your notes and how you study. So for the first lecture that I had, energetic, she talks a lot, like she kind of rambles off topic a lot. So for her class, honestly, like, there's no note taken. Like, you could like there was no note taking for her. Honestly, it got to a point like halfway during the semester, I just do other work in her class because she recorded the material, and her lectures just weren't working for me. I understood her more when I was able to like go back and like pause it and then look up something. Like, in her class, I would just have my slides and I would have a Microsoft Doc open, and anytime she kind of like emphasize something, I would just type it down, and then that would be the start of my review sheet. So I would have like chapter 22, and then under there I would have like a bunch of bullet points of like random stuff that she said. For fundamentals, I would kind of do the same thing. Like, her slides were her slides, so everything that she was saying was already on the slide. I spent most of my lectures, and I do advise this, to spend your lectures just listening to the teacher, and go back and read the textbook later. You should be reading this, like reading something before the lecture. If you can't read the textbook, check it, because I didn't do that either. Definitely skim the slides. Try to get to campus like maybe like 30 minutes or so before your class time, and skim through the slides really quick before lecture starts, because it'll be easier for you to just sit and listen and like take in everything that she's saying. Towards the end of the semester, I started doing my review sheets in class. Like, I would just write out like everything out, and then when she said something key, I would type it up. When it would come time for her review, we would have the test in front of her, and she wouldn't like read you the exact question, but she would be like, for example, like hand hygiene. So then you kind of need to know everything that centers around hand hygiene. First exam, I kid you not, was probably less than 2 weeks after the semester started. In my fundamentals class, we were having quizzes like the next week. I sat for the first class, and she was like, okay, you have a quiz next week. Like I said, you're still getting used to their teaching style until the first exam, and then the first exam, you don't know their testing style. Like, they can teach one way, they can tell you it's gonna be so easy, it's gonna be this and that, and they're gonna pull the most bullshit NCLEX questions off the internet from like the last page of Google. So you don't know. My first fundamentals test, I did my review sheet by hand, and it did help me because I don't know the science behind it, but writing things like in your handwriting, it sticks better in your mind. I actually have my stuff here. So like, yeah, for my first exam, like as she was just saying everything, I was just like writing it down like that. So this is literally how she would do the exam. She would go intraderm angles, recapping the needles, med-admin routes, stat standing, PR routine, gauge, inch, needle for different tests. So from right there, I know like I need to go into the chapter of medication administration. And when I would go through the prep U, I would also write out the rationale and like explain to myself like why I got it wrong. And I would do the same in my pharmacology, just write everything out that I got wrong to kind of like familiarize myself with it. Because you know, it's not just like, okay, I got it wrong, what's the answer? Like, why is that the wrong answer? Why did you get that wrong? Whatever textbook they have you buy. So like my school does a lot of Lippincott. So every time you buy Lippincott, they're gonna make you buy the access code that comes with it to Course Point. And I know it's expensive. And I'll give you guys my first hack. Go on the publisher's site directly. Do not buy the book from your school's library because they're upcharging you. Because one of my books were like $250 and I wasn't even gonna get it from my school's library on time. So looking at like random schools' libraries to see if they had the book, and when the book was on their website, it was like $60 less. So I was like, so we're making up prices here. Lippincott Publishers whatever.com. Whatever book you want, just you can purchase it online through the publisher and save like $100. It cuts the price in half. Like I bought 2 books and the cost of just those 2 books from the publisher's website was the cost of 1 book had I bought it from my schools. You just have to be okay with everything being digital, which if you have your iPad and you have your laptop like I do, it should be fine. You can print it out, or you can pay the publisher and I'll send you the pages not, you know, nicely stapled together, whatever works for you. Just save you some money. Cut my rant. When your school gives you those practice questions, when they tell you to pay for that like the access to the textbook, they're not trying to waste your money. It feels like it. You might wish you could have done something else with the $200, but buy the access code and use everything that is offered to you within it. Just do it. The questions, do the questions. If there's video case studies, watch the video case studies. If there's 1-minute nursing videos, watch that shit. Watch it. They didn't give it to you for no reason. Everybody always comes to me and asks how I was finishing my test in less than 40 minutes. I was doing Course Point and ATI. They gave us a box of free books. Do your ATI. Read the book. I'm already on for next semester. Read the books. This is blessed. It takes everything that's in your textbook, condensed, but it feels like they're telling you more somehow. Like when I would read the chapter in the textbook versus when I would read the chapter in the ATI. So yes, like I said, first test is trial and error. God passed all 3 of my first exams. I was a little nervous for the fundamentals because I wasn't passing the quizzes because they were like only 5 questions. So passing in my program was, when we first got accepted, it said that 80 was passing, and like that's kind of crazy. And where I went to undergrad, their passing was 77, and I remember my friends like actively struggling to get that 77, and my school made it 80. I mean, I had already planned on getting nothing but 90s, but to make it an 80, like that's, you know, take it down a notch. So I got an 84 on the first fundamentals exam. The first pharm exam, I got an 82, which I was really surprised by because every pharm test, I left the test thinking that I failed. Like, no. But I got an 82, and then the health assessment exam, which I thought I was gonna body. Let me tell you, I thought I was gonna body that test. Like, I barely studied for the first test. Oh, It seems very common sense, like there's not really a way to study for it. In my mind, the way health assessment is, like, you know the body and you know what is supposed to be correct. You know what looks right on the body. So health assessment is just assessing for what looks abnormal. You know how your eyes are supposed to look. So if the pupils are not reacting to the light pop, okay, so that's something that you need to mark down. Not right if the body's not in alignment. So I was just like, this is calm. Like, bro, she was talking to us on that test like we had been nurses for 10 years. And after every test, and be like, what does this mean? Like, what does that even mean? Like, how are we going to get the question right if we don't know that terminology? There was this whole debate for like a week and a half because she used rule out in the question. Like, people got the question wrong because they didn't understand like what rule out meant. Like, they felt like rule out was like, what is it not? What can it not? So then we did this whole debate for like a week and a half to come to an understanding of what rule out meant. And then she just had to give everybody the points. I was like, well, whatever. But that's another thing with the questions. The way I picked that question was just, you have to read the question. You have to read the question because the question is telling you what they want the answer to be. Sometimes you don't even have to get to the end. I'm not recommending do this, like read the question all the way. But sometimes you don't even have to get to the end of the question. Like, you can read like the first 3 words, and there are certain key words that go with certain things that they're looking for. So they're just certain words that link, and so then you can better pick your answer, because like sometimes the question, like, it's not making sense to me, it's not making sense to anybody in the room. Kind of the way I do my tests are like one of them is not like the other, so I always immediately mark out 2 options out of 4, like ones that absolutely make no sense, and then you're usually left with 2 that seem like they could both be right, and then you're gonna go from there, you know, ABC, add pie, all that, pick your priority. I'm talking a lot. Like, I literally made a list so I wouldn't go on a tangent, and I'm still going on a tangent, so look at that. I would say by the 2nd exam I was able to like catch a groove now that I knew all of the professors, like how they were gonna test and where they were getting their tests from. My farm teacher, when she said practice your course point questions, she was not playing, because those questions were pulled straight from the course point. And on the first exam, I think I could have done a little better if I had studied more course point. I did for the next exam. After I would do my notes, I would just hella course point. If I needed to look at the notes to answer a question, I would do that, and then I would like write down all the rationale for the questions that I got wrong to kind of better understand it. Much better after that. Like, I got nothing but 90s after that. In fundamentals, I kind of jumped around. Like, I got an 84, then a 90, then an 86, then a 91. But all of the finals, bro, I bodied those finals. I got a 92 on my farm final, a 3 on my funds. I think I got a 93, and on my health assessment I got a 98. Like 83 from a 98. So you're gonna spend a lot of time studying. It's not a joke. You really need to put the work in. They do recommend, like they say it in most programs like this, like, don't work. You do what you gotta do. Like, I know a lot of people in the program had families, like people live on their own. I'm lucky enough to still live with my parents, but they suggest that you don't work. I worked my first few weeks, like my summer job was coming to an end, so I just worked weekends until we closed. And like, because it was the first month of school, I was freaking out, like asking, like I'm a server, and I was asking to get cut every day so that I could just go home and get a head start. End of October, beginning of November, my mom got me a job at this grocery store by her, just doing like cashier, and I literally ghosted them. Also was not getting paid for the training, and then I had like a 20 chapter health assessment test the next week, so I was just like, yeah, I see why they say don't work. It wasn't working. I will be working this upcoming semester, but it just wasn't it for the first semester. Like, I needed my time to myself. A lot of time studying, a lot of time to yourself. Like, it depends on who you are and how you function. Like, if you can go out every weekend and still like make that shit work in an accelerated nursing program, give me your game card. But it's not for everybody. I had literally told my friends before I was even accepted into nursing school, because like me and my friends would like hang out every day and do like our hoodlum activities. So I told them, when I get into nursing school, like, lose my number. Like, don't text me for anything. Don't even text me happy birthday, because it's gonna distract me. I knew it would be distracting, and the few times that I did hang out during the semester threw me off, because I was using my study time to hang out. So like, I was getting in the car and everybody's pre-gaming and I'm on my laptop. Like, literally, I'm not kidding. Like, I'm on my laptop, on my iPad, like typing away on the notes, and everyone's like in the back, like, shut. And, you know, your friends will be there when you finish, and then you'll be making nice nursing bucks. So you'll actually be able to afford to go out. So they're balanced. I say, find a nice group, a good study group. Make that shit solid, concrete. Do that within the first few weeks for sure, definitely before the second exam. Everyone in my program, for the most part, is nice. I don't talk to people a lot. Like, I'm an only child in the house that I live in. So like, the way I'm sitting right now, like, if I wasn't talking to the camera, I would be talking to myself. First day, like the first few weeks of classes or whatever, like, I was very to myself. I would talk to the people who were next to me. Like, I was gonna do study tips, but because I ramble so much, I guess I gave the study tip. There's flashcards. You could do flashcards. I don't know where mine are, but I did these bomb. You can see on my channel, I did these bomb flashcards for farm. My iPad is alive. I can show you how I did my notes. So I started in farm. I started with the flashcards, but then they were just a lot. Girl that I study with gave me a really good idea, because we both use like Pixorize and Picmonics. And wow, my ring light died already. She would screenshot the picture and then just write her notes next to the picture like this. So, you know, I did it for maybe 2 pictures for the final, and then it got to be too much, just like bullet points, like just looking like this. Like, I couldn't pick, but it worked because I got a 92. So, or what did I get? Whatever I got, it worked. Talk about my classes. We would say like, definitely funds is at the top. I think funds is the easiest. It was the simplest to me. I just thought health assessment wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. I just thought it would, no, it wasn't hard at all. I think it was literally just my teacher's questions. Like, she's a tired girl. Not only does she work, she's a teacher. She teaches our class. She teaches a lab for our class. Then she teaches peds. And she probably teaches the peds lab. Then she works in a hospital as a peds nurse. And then she's in school to get her F&P. Like, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. Just grade my test. So she would always like mess up the test. Like, she would give us questions back because like it didn't make any sense. Like, it was a lot. For farm was a doozy, because my teacher was a doozy. She was so rude. She literally, it was an online class. I don't recommend that. If your school offers farm online, that's like the last. I think that class should be in person. It's just so heavy in material to not even be face to face with your teacher, and she's just online like rambling. And then like, yeah, you can ask a question, but who like really wants to interrupt the Zoom call to ask a question? So everybody's just staring at their computer. And she was just rude. Did I say that? Did I say that she was rude? Rude. She was very negative, and everything was like, well, if you do like that, you're not gonna pass in my class. You're gonna fail. Well, tell me what I can do to pass. Like, I'm not on this like this negative speak. Like, don't tell me all the things that I can do to not succeed. Like, tell me how to succeed and let's succeed. Like, what the fuck? This will always get me, and I think this is why she did it, because I can't forget it. But it was before our first exam, anticholinergic effects, and she's like talking about the anticholinergic effects, and she's like, yeah, some of you might have these before the first exam.
BFFR.
Did you not? I closed my laptop. Are you telling me that I'm gonna have anxiety before the exam? Why are you telling me that I'm gonna have anxiety? Like, I already knew that I was gonna have anxiety. You telling me that I'm gonna have anxiety? Like, you're not even trying to be like, oh, it's gonna be okay, you're gonna do great. You're telling me I'm gonna have anxiety. Like, if anybody knows, like, anticholinergic, like, it's like the your body just dries up. Like, everything stops. So it's like what is it? Like, the can't spit, can't pee, can't like, type of thing. She was saying we were going to be dry eye, dry mouth before our test, meaning we were going to be anxious. And I was just like, why would you tell me that? But as you see, I will never forget what an anticholinergic effect is. Thank you. Yeah, I loved Funds the most. She had the best slides, hands down. She made her own slides, like, most information. I rarely had to go back to the textbook after looking at her slides. And she talked from experience. Same with Funds. I don't think there's a lot of thinking that goes into fundamentals. Like, this semester, in my opinion, was probably what is going to be the easiest, like, foundations and stuff. It's common sense. Like, I'm not saying it's common sense and, like, a way to be like, oh, you didn't get that? Like, it's so easy. Like, duh. No. If you have common sense, if you can critically think, fundamentals will be a breeze for you. Like, it's like, what do you want? You want a patient who's alive and breathing. So in the question, like, if the option is an open airway, pick the option that has to do with something messing up their airway, or their airway being blocked, because if they can't breathe, you don't have a patient. Like, if you remember your ABCs of nursing, airway, breathing, circulation, and you remember that ADPI, assessment, diagnosis, planning, intervention, evaluation, you can answer the questions. Like, if there was ever a question where I didn't know the answer, like, I really, really didn't know it, and it was something where I could apply that, most of the time I applied that and I got the answer right. And then everyone was like, I really didn't know that question. And everyone's like, how'd you get that question? And I was just like, AdPi. Like, they did AdPi. I didn't know it either. AdPi. You have to be focused. You have to stay organized. I definitely recommend, when you get your syllabus, get your calendar, whatever you use, and put all your due dates into your calendar. That helped me a lot, because there's due dates every week. You have a test, you have a quiz, you have a project, like, you have all this stuff, and then on top of your personal life. So keep it in the calendar. The way that I did my calendar, here you can see that orange means that maybe it was like an assignment or something, but these two means I have an exam, and then this is probably just like an ATI. Yeah, oh, you can't even see it. Purple was my clinical, fundamentals quiz or exam, and then a pharm exam or quiz, whatever. So that just helped me. Clearly I don't seem very organized, but I was very organized this semester. People told me I was a little too organized for them. Also, I will say that I don't really like my school that much. Like, the school is, like, really expensive, and it's 2 hours from my house. Like, I live in Brooklyn and the school's in the Bronx, so I travel every day by train 2 hours. So, like, that's already just exhausting, waking up every day at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. so I can get to class at 8:30. My school's a little unorganized. I hear this with a lot of accelerated nursing programs, though. I think accelerated is a fairly new thing, like, programs, and my school's itself, it's like a fairly new. They're a little unorganized, which is not my problem, because I paid the money and I have my shit together. So they have a lot of expectations of us when they don't meet the same expectations. They annoy me a lot. They're like, I already had to email the dean about a professor because we get lab. And again, like, I don't know, my school does it so different than what I was expecting. Like, where I went for undergrad and I watched my friends in nursing, like, it was not a lab class. Like, I go to lab every Wednesday for fundamentals from 8:30 to 12:45, and those are my lab hours. But in other schools, they had, like, open lab. You can go at any time you wanted, and there was always a professor there, and if you had a question, she answered your question, and when you were ready to get passed off on a skill, she would come, watch you do it, and pass you off, and then that was it. And then, like, they had a checklist of all the skills that need to be passed off before the end of the semester. My school, they didn't open the open lab until the middle of October, like, end of October. We were, like, a week away from our first practical in fundamentals and health assessment, and my teacher was like, next week, you're giving this patient a sub-Q injection of Lanox, and I was like, no ma'am. And we scheduled an open lab session for 12 o'clock, and on the paper it was like, it basically was telling us that there was a 15-minute grace period. So we knew that, and we were, like, coming from class, so we were like, okay, we're gonna eat, like, really quick, like, change into our uniform, and we'll go up like 12:05 or something. We got there at 12:07. The door was locked. Couldn't find anybody, like, in the whole hallway. It's like all these nursing offices, no one was in their office, so we don't know, like, where to go. We don't know who to talk to. So finally we see somebody, she's on the phone, so we wait for her to get off the phone, and we're like, hey, where do we go? So now at this point it's like 12:11. So she's like, you gotta go all the way to the end of the hallway to her office. I'm like, who is this lady? She wasn't even on any of the emails. Like, your name is the one that was on the emails. So like, why can't you open the door for me? We get to the lady's room. It's like 12:11. And I'm looking at my phone because I remember like every time we got to the door, I was like, oh, okay, it's not 12:15 yet. So we still have time. Like, they'll still let us in. We get to our door and she's just like, no, you weren't there. You weren't there. And we were like, how would you know if we weren't there if you locked the door before 10 minutes were even up? And she was like, no. She was being mad rude. And I didn't see her. I know two friends were standing in the doorway and I kind of just was standing to the back. So like, I was about to say something because she was getting rude and my friend clocked it and just closed the door. So I immediately sat down and I emailed the dean. I was like, that, and I emailed her and I CC'd the dean and I was like, that was unprofessional. It was a little jarring because you were very rude. We're here for a learning experience and you're not allowing me to learn. Like, if your title is clinical lab simulation instructor, get in the simulation lab and instruct me. Like, what else do you have to do? We're sitting in the hallway and we see her leave like 5 minutes before the time that our appointment was supposed to end, and she was in like scrubs, like work scrubs. So we're like, oh, like everybody at this school, she has 3 jobs. She probably didn't want to be stuck there like answering questions. I was like, no. Like, it was just like, I was like, this is our first semester, we want to be nurses and you're like the first nurses that we're having interaction with, and this is how you're acting. Like, I don't think this is what the motto of a nurse is. Like, they really say y'all young, like they're not kidding. So the dean came up in like 10 minutes after I emailed. She was like, where are you? And she came in and she like shook my hand. She was like, I'm sorry. She's like, no, you're right. Like, I don't care if you get there after 12:15. It's like, you can get there at 12:45 and those 15 minutes are yours to practice. And I'm like, as they should be, because you guys advertise this crazy simulation lab, and then when I want to simulate in the lab, you're telling me no because I was 7 minutes late. Like, so, and I heard that lovely lady is on her way to find another job somewhere else. It's not because of me though. Like, I didn't get her fired. I wasn't the first complaint. Like, I kid you not, like on our way in the elevator, we were telling another guy like, oh, we're on our way to sim lab, and he goes, with that bitch. So like, oh, we were warned. She is out the door. But the sim labs are really helpful. Like, go to your open labs, do everything, take every resource that they offer you, but definitely go to the open labs, because if your labs are like mine where it's just 1 lab per week and we learn like 3 skills in 1 lab, you're not going to remember all of those, you're not going to be perfect on all of those. And then when the practical comes, it's like 2 months later. Did the open labs, and my professor said like the 3 of us who did the open labs, you can tell that we went to them because we were more confident. Like, everybody did good, everybody passed. She's like, you can tell certain things that we were saying and certain like ways that we were doing the skill in a different way that you can just tell we practice. And then the second lady, the lady who helped us for the second open lab, she was much nicer, and she was like, yeah, like, we know who you are because you people are the only ones who come to the open lab. I was like, well, I fought for that shit, so you gonna see me here every chance I get. I did not embarrass myself to the dean to not show up and practice. You know, I'm gonna be here practicing. Yeah, I would say overall I had a pretty good semester. Nothing is like what I expected, because you know, you don't know what to expect going in. But yeah, I ran out of things to say. Finally, I have plans for some more videos. I just wanted to get something recorded and start talking to you guys, because I know some people are going to be starting their first semester, if it didn't already start, because some people will be starting their next semester sometime this month for sure. So if this could help anybody or just give anybody some insight to what it's gonna be like, I hope that I can help, and I'll see you guys for the next video.